Israel's High Court of Justice has decisively upheld David Zini's controversial appointment as the new chief of Shin Bet, Israel's elite domestic security agency, rejecting challenges to his leadership credentials. The top court ruled 2-1 against multiple petitions that were urgently filed to block the appointment of Zeni as head of Shin Bet, affirming the process despite widespread public and legal opposition. Back in October, the court had already declined to freeze his appointment pending a final ruling on the contentious petitions, allowing the process to move forward amid heated debate. The petitions aggressively sought to disqualify Zeni based on his questionable past experience, problematic personal conduct, and alleged glaring conflicts of interest that could compromise agency independence. The deputy court president emphasized that the Independent Advisory Committee had thoroughly reviewed Zeni's candidacy in detail and ultimately found it fully acceptable for the critical role. Solberg categorically rejected arguments claiming Prime Minister Netanyahu harbored a personal conflict of interest when personally selecting Zeni as the next Shin Bet chief. The explosive row erupted primarily over the agency's pivotal role in high-profile investigations targeting Netanyahu's closest aides in the explosive build and Qatargate corruption affairs shaking the government. In July, the court had permitted Netanyahu to unilaterally select a preferred candidate whose qualifications would then be rigorously assessed by the Independent Advisory Committee for approval. However, the Supreme Court president penned a sharp dissenting opinion that questioned the adequacy of the probe into Netanyahu's own influential role throughout the appointment process. Isaac Amit insisted the committee was explicitly required to scrutinize the Prime Minister's conduct as the appointing official to ensure impartiality and transparency. However, Amit sharply criticized that the committee blatantly failed to evaluate whether Netanyahu harbored any ulterior motives or personal biases when deliberately choosing Zeni for the position. Zeni has openly expressed strong alignment with the Netanyahu government's aggressive ambitions and military objectives in Gaza during sensitive private meetings with key stakeholders. He controversially described Israel's ongoing Gaza assault as an eternal war without end, inflammatory remarks that provoked outrage and fury from relatives of Israeli captives still held hostage. Zeni proudly identifies as a member of the far-right religious Zionism movement, which is aggressively led by Foreign Minister Bezalel Smotrich and pushes radical ideological agendas. Zeni now faces intense scrutiny for promoting a messianic worldview that prioritizes religious zealotry, a label he openly embraced and celebrated during a provocative June speech. Remember, Netanyahu had dramatically fired Shin Bet Intelligence's ex-chief Ronen Bar back in March 2025, abruptly ending his tenure amid a deepening power struggle within security circles. Netanyahu publicly cited an ongoing lack of trust and irreconcilable differences for the dismissal, even though Bar had been formally appointed in October 2021 for a full 5-year term. Their personal and professional ties reportedly soured dramatically over the catastrophic October 7 Hamas attacks, Gaza war strategy, and divisive proposed judicial reforms that deeply split Israeli society. Relations plummeted further after the explosive March 4 release of Shin Bet's scathing internal report dissecting the catastrophic Hamas attack that caught Israel completely off guard. The damning report acknowledged the agency's own operational failures but squarely pointed fingers at overarching government policy decisions that tragically enabled Hamas' unchecked military buildup over years. In early December, Bar boldly called for establishing an independent state commission to comprehensively inquire into all systemic failures surrounding the devastating Hamas terror attack. Netanyahu's fierce critics denounced the dismissals as part of a calculated campaign deliberately aimed at systematically undermining and politicizing key government institutions for personal gain. Critics have bitterly accused Netanyahu of firing Bar primarily to desperately maintain his grip on power while simultaneously facing multiple ongoing trials for alleged corruption and bribery charges. The shocking announcement landed amid Shin Bet's active and sensitive probe into shady financial ties between the Prime Minister's top advisors and the wealthy Gulf state of Qatar.